Now I'm going to tell you about the winter of '83 and how the coldest February in Wyoming history taught me that some folks are colder than any blizzard. February 8th, temperature maybe 15 degrees, wind cutting through 3 layers like they weren't even there. That's when I heard her voice carry across that frozen creek. "They stole my clothes, Cowboy. Please help me." She was standing waist-deep in water that should have killed her an hour back, her lips blue as a summer sky, ice crystals caught in her dark hair. The torn dress hanging off her shoulders told me everything about the men who'd done it. Clay Jensen and his gang, drinking whiskey in town right then, laughing about leaving an Apache woman to die in the cold. Should have been simple. Should have kept riding. But I'd been frozen inside since my wife Marjorie died 3 winters before. And something about that girl's eyes, they were fire, even when her body was ice, made me remember what it felt like to be alive. By sunrise 3 days later, one of us would be buried in snow, and the whole town would have to choose between what's legal and what's right, between warm beds and cold truth. Some nights I still hear that rope whistle through the wind, the one they built the gallows with. But I'm getting ahead of myself. 3 days earlier, February 5th, 1883, I was checking the morning cold the way a man checks for enemies. Stepped out onto the porch, watched my breath cloud white, felt ice crystals forming in my beard before I'd taken 3 steps. 15 degrees, maybe less. The kind of cold that kills cattle if you ain't careful. "Marjorie, I reckon we got one more storm coming before the big thaw," I said to the empty cabin behind me. Been talking to her 3 years now, ever since the fever took her. Felt foolish sometimes, but less foolish than the silence. Had to ride into town that morning. Salt running low, needed rifle ammunition, lamp oil. 8 miles through snow-packed trail, and my horse was nervous from the start, ears flicking toward the ridge like something was watching. Should have paid attention to that. Town was quiet when I arrived, that mid-morning hush when decent folks are working and the other kind are sleeping off last night's whiskey. I tied up outside the general store, boots crunching on ice. That's when I saw her. She was sitting in the snow outside the store, hands bound with rope in front of her. 3 young men circled her like wolves, Clay Jensen and 2 of his usual pack. Her belongings scattered in the snow around her, cornmeal, dried meat, and a beaded medicine bag that Clay held up like a trophy. "Looky here, boys," Clay said, voice loud enough for the growing crowd. "Indian's got herself fancy things. Wonder where she stole 'em from." He kicked the medicine bag toward the horse trough. It landed on the ice with a crack. The girl, woman really, maybe 23, didn't make a sound. Just watched him with eyes that reminded me of a cornered animal. Her feet were bare, bleeding from ice cuts. No coat. Her dress torn at the shoulder. A small crowd had gathered, women pulling children back, men standing with arms crossed, watching like it was a show. Store owner at his window, doing nothing. "Shouldn't be here in winter anyway," an older woman muttered. "Ought to stay where they belong." Clay picked up what looked like her dress, a second one for traveling, and held it up. "Reckon we'll keep this. Call it a fine for vagrancy." That's when something in me just moved, didn't think, didn't plan, just walked through that crowd, boots loud on the frozen ground. Clay saw me coming. His grin widened. "Well now, Silas Merrick, didn't figure you for an Indian lover." I didn't answer him, just bent down, picked up that medicine bag from the ice, and untied the rope from her hands. Her wrists were raw underneath, rope burns days old. This wasn't the first time they'd done this to her. I took off my buffalo coat, the warm one, the one I needed, and draped it over her shoulders. She looked up at me, confused, scared, searching for the trap. "Can you stand?" I asked quiet. She tried, couldn't, her feet too damaged. So I lifted her. Wasn't heavy, too thin actually. Starving, probably. I set her on my horse, then gathered up her scattered belongings from the snow. Cornmeal, jerky, a small knife. I put it all in my saddlebag, dropped a silver dollar in the snow at Clay's feet. That's for whatever she needs from the store. The crowd had gone dead silent. Clay's grin disappeared. "You just bought yourself a war, old man." I turned then, looked him dead in the eye. "Ain't my first winter, boy, and it ain't my first fool neither." I led my horse toward the store. The owner stood in the doorway, blocking it. "Silas Merrick, you know what you just done?" "Yeah." kept a woman from freezing to death. You gonna sell me that lamp oil or not? His face went hard. Not today, not for her kind. Behind me, Clay's voice carried clear across the square. Enjoy tonight, Merrick. Come morning, we'll settle this proper. I mounted up behind her, felt her hands grip my shirt, shaking from cold or fear or both. 8 miles back to the cabin, temperature dropping fast, and I could feel 3 sets of eyes burning holes in my back the whole ride home. By the time we crested the last hill, snow had started falling again. Her head had dropped against my shoulder, too exhausted to hold it up anymore. The dog was barking from the porch, warning bark, the kind that says, something's wrong in the world. I looked back once. 3 riders on the horizon, watching us go. Hold on, I told her. Almost home. Though whose home it was, mine or hers or ours, I couldn't rightly say yet. The cabin was cold when we arrived. Fire burned down to embers. I carried her inside, set her on the bench near the hearth, and got to work bringing the place back to life. Kindling first, then split logs, then the kettle on for hot water. She watched every move I made, tracking me like I might turn on her any second. Can't say I blamed her for that. Need to see your feet, I said, keeping my voice low and even, the way you talk to spooked horses. She pulled them up under her, shook her head. They're frostbitten. You don't tend 'em, you'll lose toes. Maybe more. She stared at me a long moment, then slowly extended her feet. I brought over the basin of warm, not hot, that'd be worse, water and knelt down. When I reached for her ankles, she flinched. I ain't gonna hurt you, I said. Then turned my back, set the basin between us. You do it. I'll get you something clean to wear. I heard her breath hitch, relief maybe, and the soft sound of water as she lowered her feet in. In the back room, I opened Marjorie's trunk. Hadn't touched it in 3 years. The smell of lavender and cedar hit me like a fist. Her Sunday dress on top, the blue one. Under that, everyday clothes. And at the bottom, folded neat as the day she'd put it there, our wedding blanket. Wool, with a pattern I'd never paid much attention to before, little geometric shapes along the border. I pulled out a work dress, stockings, and after a moment's hesitation, the blanket. When I came back out, she'd pulled her feet from the water and was examining them. 3 toes on the left foot had gone white and waxy. Not black yet, but close. These were my wife's, I said, setting the clothes on the table. She'd want you to have 'em. The girl looked at the dress, then at me, then at the trunk I'd left open in the doorway. She die? Her English was broken but clear. 3 years back. Fever. She nodded once, understanding grief without needing details. I turned my back while she changed. Heard the rustle of fabric, a small gasp of pain when the dress caught on something. When she said, okay, I turned back around. The dress hung loose on her. Marjorie had been bigger built, but it was warm and whole. She'd wrapped the blanket around her shoulders without me offering it. Something about seeing her in Marjorie's things made my throat tight. I'm Silas, I said. Silas Merrick. Kiona. She touched the blanket. This special? It was. She started to take it off. No. Keep it. She'd want... I stopped, swallowed. Just keep it. The dog barked outside. Different bark. Warning bark. I moved to the window, peered through the gap in the shutters. Nothing yet, but the dog wouldn't lie. I loaded the rifle, checked the chamber, set it by the door. You expecting trouble? Kiona asked. Always expect trouble. Sometimes it don't come. But we both knew it was coming. I made us coffee and cornbread with the last of the molasses. We ate in silence, the fire crackling between us. She was careful, precise in her movements, folding the napkin I gave her, setting the cup down without sound. A woman used to making herself small. They come back, she said finally. The men from town. Maybe. I go. I leave tonight. You don't need this trouble. I set my cup down, looked at her straight. It's February. You can't walk 5 miles in this cold with those feet. Besides. I paused, choosing words carefully. I gave my word I'd keep you safe. I keep my word. Outside, something scraped against the porch rail. The dog went crazy. I grabbed the rifle, moved to the door. Through the window, I saw them. Torchlights. 3 riders, maybe 4. They'd stopped at the fence line, torches throwing orange shadows across the snow. "Merrick!" Clay's voice cut through the night. "Send her out and we'll call it square." I stepped onto the porch, rifle visible but not aimed. Kiona appeared in the doorway behind me. She'd grabbed the knife from her things. "You're trespassing," I called back. "Turn around." "She's stolen property," Clay shouted. "Indian agent's been looking for runaways." "That's so. Then get the agent. I'll wait." Long pause, wind howling, the horses stamping, nervous in the cold. "You calling me a liar, old man?" "I'm calling you what you are. Now ride off before I forget to be polite." One of the others, younger voice, uncertain, said something I couldn't hear. Clay cut him off sharp. "All right, Merrick, we'll do this legal. Come morning, Marshall's gonna hear about you harboring fugitive property. We'll let the law decide." They left slow, deliberate torches visible until they crested the hill. I came back inside. Kiona was still standing with that knife, knuckles white on the handle. "You lose everything for me," she said. "Why?" I set the rifle down, sat at the table. "Because it's February. And nobody deserves to die in February." Outside, a new sound started. Not horses, wolves. Howling from the ridge, closer than they should be. The dog wouldn't stop barking. Gonna be a long night. Next morning, February 6th, I woke to the sound of Kiona making coffee. Hadn't asked her to, but there she was, moving quiet around the stove, favoring her bad foot. She'd wrapped the frostbitten toes in strips torn from an old shirt. "You should rest," I said. "I work." Simple as that, no argument. We fed the stock together, her limping beside me through snow that came up to her knees. She showed me tracks I'd missed. 3 wolves had circled the cabin during the night, close enough to leave marks on the porch steps. "They hungry," she said. "Desperate. That why they come so close. Wolves ain't the only desperate things out here." She looked at me, understood what I meant. By mid-morning, we heard them coming. Not 3 riders this time. 7. Clay and his 2 friends. Marshall Wade Calhoun, Clay's father, Randall Jensen. The store owner, one other rancher I recognized but couldn't name, all mounted, all armed, all looking like they meant business. I stepped onto the porch. Kiona stayed in the doorway behind me, wrapped in that blanket. Marshall Wade dismounted first. He was a good man once, before Jensen money got its hooks in him. Now he just looked tired and trapped. "Silas Merrick," he said, formal-like. "Need to talk to you about harboring." "Nothing to talk about, Wade. Found a woman half froze. Gave her shelter. That's Christian duty." Randall Jensen, still mounted, looking down at me like I was dirt, spoke next. His voice had that flat, cold quality of a man used to being obeyed. "That woman is Apache. There's standing orders about runaways crossing territory lines without papers." "She got papers?" I asked. Wade shifted uncomfortably. "Well, technically." "Don't need papers to know what she is," Randall cut in. "My boy says she was begging in town, making a nuisance." "Your boy's a liar." I said it plain, no heat, just fact. "I saw him rob her, stole her food, her pack, threw her medicine bag in frozen water. Then they rode off and left her by the creek to die." Murmur through the crowd. The other rancher looked away. Clay's face went red. "That's a damn lie." "Is it? Then why is she wearing my dead wife's clothes? 'Cause you stole hers." Silence fell heavy as snow. Randall turned to his son. "Boy, you saying he's lying?" Clay hesitated. "Trapped. We were just having fun. Didn't steal nothing permanent, just moved her stuff around." "See?" Randall said to me, smooth as oil. "Misunderstanding. Send her out. We'll get her to the agent proper. Everyone goes home. She stays till she's healed. Then she goes where she wants." "Silas," Wade said, and I heard the plea in his voice. "I can't. Marshall, do your job." Randall's voice went hard as iron. Wade pulled out a paper, hands shaking slightly. "Silas Merrick, you're in violation of territorial guidelines. You got till sunrise tomorrow to bring that woman to town for processing. If you don't—" He stopped, swallowed. "We come back with papers. And we take everything. Her. Your stock, your land. That's theft, I said. That's law. Randall stood in his stirrups, addressing the crowd like a preacher. You know how much I pay in taxes to this territory? Enough that law listens when I talk. He looked at Wade. Marshal, you witness this? I do? Wade's voice was barely audible. Then something unexpected happened. The youngest of Clay's gang, Billy Hodge, couldn't be more than 17, spoke up. Mr. Merrick, I seen where her pack landed. I can show. Clay wheeled on him. Billy, shut your mouth. Billy looked at the ground, but his eyes flicked to me first. Message sent. Randall gathered his reins. Sunrise tomorrow, Merrick. Or I burn you out and take it all. You'd burn a man's home in February? I'd burn hell itself to keep order in this county. They started to turn, but Clay lingered, his face twisted with something ugly, humiliation mixed with rage. Merrick, you don't know what you cost me. Pa's gonna whip me bloody 'cause you made me look weak. Come tomorrow, I'm collecting that debt. From the doorway, Kiona spoke. I go now. Save your home. I didn't turn around. No. Why you do this? 'Cause I gave my word, and 'cause if I let him take you, I ain't fit to live in this cabin anyway. The riders disappeared over the hill. For maybe 5 minutes, everything was quiet. Just wind and the dog settling down, and Kiona's breathing behind me. Then I smelled it. Smoke. I turned toward the barn, saw orange glow through the slats. They'd circled back or sent someone ahead. Didn't matter which. My barn's burning, I said, voice flat. We ran. Well, I ran. Kiona hobbled fast as she could. But by the time we got there, the whole structure was going up. The hay inside, all my winter feed for the stock, crackling like gunfire. The cattle in the corral were screaming, wild-eyed with fear. It took us 2 hours to move them to the shed, crowded in tight but better than nothing. The barn collapsed while we worked, sending sparks into the gray sky. When it was done, we stood there in the snow, covered in soot and ash, watching smoke rise. That's when I saw the paper nailed to the fence post. I pulled it down, read by the light of dying flames. Last warning. Sunrise. Kiona stood beside me, the blanket pulled tight around her shoulders. They kill us slow. No food for animals. We starve or leave. I looked at what was left of my barn. 3 years of work, gone in maybe 20 minutes. Reckon we got maybe 12 hours, I said. In the distance, the wolves started howling again. Even they could smell the blood in the water. Midnight came cold and clear. We'd spent the evening moving stock, salvaging what we could from the barn's edges. Tools, some rope, a saddle that was singed but serviceable. The 12 cattle were crammed in the shed, barely room to turn around, but at least they weren't freezing. Kiona worked alongside me without complaint, even though I could see her limping worse as the hours passed. When we finally came inside, she collapsed onto the bench by the fire, unwrapping her feet to check the damage. The 3 white toes had darkened at the tips. Bad? I asked. Not good. She rewrapped them carefully. But I keep them maybe if we live long enough. I made us both coffee, the bitter kind that keeps you awake when your body wants to quit. We sat in silence, listening to the cabin settle, the wind find cracks we'd have to seal come spring, if there was a spring for us. Can't fight 'em straight, I said, thinking out loud. Can't run, you can't walk 10 miles, and they'd track us by first light anyway. Can't stay, they'll come at dawn with papers and guns. Then we trapped. Not yet. An idea was forming, risky but possible. Billy Hodge. That boy tried to say something earlier before Clay shut him down, and he's the youngest, might still have conscience. Kiona looked skeptical. The boy who laughed while others steal my clothes? Same one who looked away when they did it. Sometimes that's the first step to doing right. I stood, grabbed my coat. I'm riding to his family's place, 3 miles east. If he knows where your pack landed, maybe there's proof Clay stole from you. Makes this about theft, not harboring. They follow you. Let 'em try. Buys you time to rest. I loaded the rifle, showed her how to work the lever action. Anyone but me comes back, you shoot through the door, don't open it. She nodded, took the rifle. Her hands were steady. The ride was brutal. Temperature had dropped below zero, wind cutting through my coat like it wasn't there. I could hear dogs in the distance. Clay had sent trackers, just like I figured. Had to move fast. Billy's farm was small, poor, the kind of place where one bad winter could break you. Single lamp burning in the barn. Found him there, tending a sick cow, looking miserable and young. Mr. Merrick? He spun when I stepped in, scared half to death. You shouldn't be here. Clay finds out I talked to you. What you started to say this morning, about her pack. He looked at the ground, wrestling with something. I can't. Pa does business with Mr. Jensen. Boy, they burned my barn tonight. Come morning, they're gonna take everything I got and probably kill that woman. Now you got a choice. You can be part of that, or you can be part of stopping it. The silence stretched. Outside, dogs barking closer now. Billy's voice came out shaky. I didn't steal her clothes. I tried to stop Clay. He hit me, told me to shut up or he'd tell Pa I was soft. He pulled up his shirt, bruise on his ribs, purple and yellow, days old. After they rode off, I went back, found her pack where Clay threw it in the creek. He wiped his eyes roughly. I buried it. Why? 'Cause I got a sister her age, and I kept thinking, what if it was Mary out there? What if some boys did that to her? His voice cracked. I buried it under the cairn by the creek, the one with the white stones. Thought maybe she'd come back looking, find it herself. Didn't know they'd left her to die. Relief hit me like whiskey. You're telling me there's proof? Everything they stole? Yes, sir. Her food, her blanket, her dress, all there, wrapped in oilcloth so it wouldn't rot. That's evidence, boy. That proves theft, attempted murder. Even Jensen money can't fight that. But Marshal Wade, he does whatever Mr. Jensen says. Maybe. But if the whole town sees it, that's different. Billy made his choice then, squared his thin shoulders. I'll show you. But we gotta go now. Clay's got dogs out. Then he said something that changed everything. Mr. Merrick, there's something else. That woman, Kiona, she had papers in her pack, travel papers from the agency, legal ones. She wasn't running from nothing. She had permission to travel north to find family. I stared at him. They knew she was legal? Clay read 'em before he threw 'em in the creek. He laughed, said, don't matter what paper says, only matters what I say. My hands curled into fists. Then, dogs barking, right outside. Torches through the barn door cracks. Billy Hodge, you in there? You got company? We were trapped. Billy's face went white. You got a back way out? I whispered. Through the gully. But it's iced over. One slip and you break your neck. The barn door rattled. We know Merrick's in there, boy. Come out now and maybe we don't tell your pa you've been helping criminals. Billy looked at me, then at the back door. Decided. Follow me. Stay low. We slipped out through the feed room into the gully behind. Ice everywhere, treacherous as sin. I could hear Clay's voice shouting, dogs going crazy, but we were moving, sliding, nearly falling, catching ourselves on frozen branches. Made it to the creek just as sky started lightening. First hint of dawn. Billy dug through snow at the cairn, hands bleeding from cold and sharp rocks. Pulled out an oilcloth bundle, unwrapped it with shaking fingers. Everything was there. Her dress, torn where they'd ripped it, her food stores, and folded at the bottom, official papers, stamped and signed. But there was something else, a letter. I read it by dawn light, Billy watching over my shoulder. Dear Nephew Wade, my niece Kiona travels north to find family after fire took our camp. She carries papers and my medicine bag. If she reaches you, please help her. Your aunt in memory, Sarah Broken Wing. Billy's whisper, Marshal Wade, has Apache family? Seems so, and he's been hiding it. The sun broke over the ridge. We had maybe 2 hours before they came for us. Reach the cairn by sunrise, I said. Someone still remembers the truth. We did. Question was, would it be enough? We made it back to the cabin just as full light hit. Kiona was at the window, rifle ready, but when she saw me, she lowered it, relief washing over her face. Billy dismounted behind me, holding the oilcloth bundle like it was made of gold. When Kiona saw him, she tensed, hand moving toward the knife on her belt. "It's all right," I said quick. "He's the one who buried your pack. Saved it." She studied him a long moment, then said simply, "Thank you." Billy, awkward and young, couldn't meet her eyes. "I'm sorry. For what they did. I should have. You here now. That enough?" Inside, I showed her the letter. She read it slowly, lips moving over the English words, then looked up with something like wonder in her eyes. "Aunt Sarah, I not know she write to Marshall." "You knew Marshall Wade was your kin?" "My mother tell me once. She say her sister marry white man, have son, move away. But she say son deny his mother, deny his blood." Kiona's voice went flat. "I not think he help. Might not have choice now." I spread the papers on the table, travel documents, all legal and proper. "This letter's dated, official. If Wade knew you were coming and didn't protect you, he broke his oath." For the first time since I'd found her, something like hope flickered across Kiona's face. Billy cleared his throat. "There's more. Your wife's homestead claim, Mr. Merrick. I looked it up at the land office last night. Pa knows the clerk, got me in. It's filed in her name, not yours. So? So under Homestead Act, if the claim's in a wife's name and she dies without children, property can pass through tribal lineage if there's blood connection to the land." He pulled out another paper, hands shaking with excitement. "Your wife's grandmother was Shoshone. It's right here in the deed record from 1847. The world tilted. "Marjorie never told me. Maybe she didn't know, but it's recorded legal. And Kiona's papers list her mother's clan, same clan as your wife's grandmother." The pieces fell together like a lock clicking open. "They're kin," I breathed. "Distant, but blood. And if Kiona can prove connection to your land through Marjorie's lineage, territorial law says Jensen can't touch her. She's got homestead protection." Kiona sat down heavy on the bench, staring at the papers. "Your wife and me, sisters? By blood and law both, seems like." We sat there in that small cabin, the three of us, and for the first time in days I felt something loosen in my chest. Not safety, we weren't safe yet, but possibility. Kiona poured coffee for all of us, her movements careful, almost ceremonial. When she handed me the cup, our fingers touched and she didn't pull away. "You give me life," she said softly. "You give me family name. You give me home. Gave you what you already had. Just helped you see it." Billy watched us, and something changed in his young face. Understanding, maybe, or recognition of what was growing between us. Kiona took a piece of charcoal from the fire, knelt by the hearthstone, and drew two symbols in the ash-dusted wood. "What's it mean?" I asked. "First word, safe. Second word, place where heart stays." She looked up at me. "No word in English for this. Closest word is home." I knelt beside her, traced the symbols with my finger. "That's a good word." The moment stretched, warm and fragile as new ice. Then Billy at the window. "Mr. Merrick, look." Orange glow on the horizon, wrong direction, not toward the Jensen Ranch, toward town. I crossed to the window, looked out, smoke rising, black against the morning sky. "That's the line shack," I said, voice hollow. "The place I kept in town for when weather was too bad to ride home." Kiona came to stand beside me. "They burn everything you own. Everything I'd built. Everything I'd saved. Marjorie's things I'd stored there. Her books, her mother's china, the chair her father made. Gone." Billy's voice was small. "My pa's gonna kill me. I missed morning chores. And if he finds out I helped you—" "Then you best ride home," I said. "You done enough." "No, sir." He straightened up, trying to look older than 17. "I'm staying. I'm gonna testify what I saw." Before I could respond, the ground trembled. Horses. Many horses. But not from town. From the north. "That ain't Jensen's men," I said. "Wrong direction." Kiona's face went pale. "Dogs. I hear dogs." And then the worst sound possible. Men's voices, shouting commands, not waiting till dawn. Coming now. I grabbed the rifle, checked the load. Billy did the same with his old squirrel gun. Kiona stood between us, medicine bag clutched in one hand, knife in the other, and said something in Apache, prayer or curse I couldn't tell. Through the window, torches, at least 8 riders, and in the dawn light, I could see they were pulling something behind them. A wagon. Empty now, but I knew what it was for. They'd come to take her, legal or not, sunrise deadline or not, they'd come. Bar the door, I said. The riders stopped 50 feet out. Randall Jensen's voice carried clear in the cold air. Merrick, time's up. Send her out or we come in. I stepped onto the porch, rifle across my chest. You're early, said Sunrise. Changed my mind. My property's burning. And my son's in disgrace. And it's all because of you and that squaw. Behind me, I felt Kiona and Billy move to the doorway. She ain't going, I said. Then we take her. The men started to dismount, hands on guns. This was it, the moment where words ended and blood started. But then, sound of a bell, church bell, ringing in town. Pattern. I knew. Emergency gathering. Something was happening. Randall heard it too. Confusion crossed his face. And riding hard from town, another group, led by someone I didn't expect. Marshal Wade Calhoun. And behind him, the preacher. And behind them, a dozen townspeople. Whatever was about to happen, it was bigger than a fight at my cabin. It was about to be a judgment. Hold it right there, Randall. Marshal Wade's voice carried across the snow as he rode up hard, horse lathering despite the cold. Randall turned in his saddle, face darkening. Wade, this ain't your concern anymore. I'm handling it private. Like hell you are. The preacher pulled up beside Wade, and I saw something I'd never seen before. The old man looked angry. Church bell rang for a reason. Whole town's gathering in the square. This is gonna be done public, witnessed proper, or it ain't gonna be done at all. I don't answer to you, preacher. No, but you answer to federal law, and that's what this has become. Wade's voice shook, but he held his ground. Got word overnight from the territorial office. There's questions about Merrick's land claim, tribal protections that need sorting. Can't seize property till it's settled legal. It was a bluff, had to be, but Wade was selling it hard. Randall studied him, suspicious. You're stalling. I'm doing my job. Finally. Wade looked at me then, and I saw something break open in his face. Guilt, maybe, or the first crack of courage. Silas, Kiona, Billy Hodge, you're all to come to town. Formal hearing in the square. Let everyone witness what's true and what ain't. And if we refuse, I asked, then Randall here gets his way and we all live with that shame. Wade turned to the crowd behind him. I recognized faces now. The store owner's wife, 3 other women from town, the blacksmith. But I'm thinking there's folks tired of shame. One of the women, the one whose daughter had cried at the window, spoke up, voice trembling but clear. We want to hear the truth, all of it, no more whispers and closed doors. Randall's men were looking uncertain now, outnumbered by townspeople. This is ridiculous, Randall spat. I'm not putting my business on trial for— Then ride away, the preacher said flatly. But if you lay one hand on that woman without due process, I'll see you brought up on charges myself. And I got witnesses now. The standoff held for a long, frozen moment. Finally, Randall gave a sharp nod. Fine, town square. But this better be quick. I got a ranch to run. We'll leave now, Wade said, then looked at me. Silas, you come peaceful? I looked at Kiona. She met my eyes, and I saw the fear there, but also something harder, determination. We'll come, I said, but we walk in together, not in chains. Agreed. Billy stepped forward. I'm coming too. Got something to say. His father, I hadn't noticed him in the crowd, pushed through, face purple with rage. Boy, you get on home right now before I— No, Pa. Billy's voice cracked but held. I've been lying by staying quiet. I'm done. We rode to town in a strange procession, me and Kiona on my horse, Billy on his, surrounded by townspeople like a guard of witnesses. Randall and his men followed behind, furious but contained. The square was full when we arrived. Seemed like every soul in 20 miles had come. They'd built a platform overnight. Not for hanging, not yet, but for speaking, for judging. We dismounted. Kiona stumbled on her bad foot and I caught her elbow. She leaned on me just for a second and I felt how much trust that took. "Whatever happens," I said low, "you got dignity. They can't take that." She nodded, straightened up, but then Randall's men moved fast, too fast. Two of them grabbed me from behind, wrenched my arms back. "What the hell?" I struggled, but they were younger, stronger. "Protective custody," Randall said smoothly. "Man's been harboring a fugitive. Can't trust him not to run." Wade started to object, but Randall cut him off. "You wanted this legal, Marshal. This is legal. Secure the accused." They brought out shackles, iron, cold, heavy, clicked them around my wrists in front of everyone. The crowd murmured, some approving. Some, I saw the store owner's wife look away, shamefaced. Kiona lunged forward. "No, he do nothing wrong." They grabbed her too. She fought. God, she fought like a wildcat. But there were three of them and her feet were damaged and she couldn't get leverage. When they shackled her wrists, something in her face just broke. She'd been bound before. This was the nightmare repeating. "Keep your dignity," I said to her, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Don't let them see you break." She looked at me, tears streaming, but nodded, stood straighter. Billy tried to run to us. His father caught him, held him back. "You done enough damage, boy." We were marched through town like criminals. 8 miles we'd ridden in that cold, and now we walked back through it in chains. My wrists started bleeding where the iron rubbed. Kiona limped worse with every step, leaving spots of blood in the snow from her reopened wounds. People lined the street. Some watched silent, some spat. One old woman threw a rock, missed me, hit Kiona's shoulder. She didn't even flinch. A little girl pressed against a window, crying. Her mother pulled her back, but the girl's hand stayed on the glass, witnessing. They threw us in the town jail, one cell, stone walls, single guttering candle, no heat. Our breath fogged in the air. Rats scurried in the straw. Billy was shoved in with us. His father had disowned him right there in the street. "You ain't no son of mine." We sat in the cold as afternoon faded. My barn gone, my town property burned, my freedom taken, everything I owned, seized or destroyed. Kiona huddled in the corner, wrapped in what was left of Marjorie's blanket. They'd let her keep that much at least. She was shaking, though whether from cold or fear I couldn't tell. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I bring you only trouble." "You brought me back to life," I said. First time in 3 years I felt like a man instead of a ghost. From the next cell, a voice, raspy, old. "Y'all still got your dignity. They took your land, your freedom, your warmth, but they can't take what you stand for." "Not unless you give it away." I looked over. An old drunk I'd seen around town, probably been in that cell 3 months. "Who are you?" Billy asked. "Name's Oswin. Been here a spell for talking back to Jensen." He leaned closer to the bars. "Used to own a spread like yours, Merrick. Now I own nothing but these bars and my conscience." He was quiet a moment, then said, "Honor ain't land. It's how you stand after you fall. And mister, you're still standing." Kiona reached through her chains, touched my hand. Small gesture, but it sent warmth through me that the cold couldn't touch. The candle sputtered, died. Darkness filled the cell. Only moonlight through the high window casting bars across us all. Sounds from outside, hammering, building something. Oswin's voice in the dark. "They're building gallows. Heard 'em talking. Not official, but out here, Jensen's word is law." Billy started crying, trying to hide it. I stared at that barred moonlight and thought about Marjorie, about the blanket wrapped around Kiona, about promises kept and dignity earned. Bootsteps approached, torchlight. A paper slid under the door. I crawled to it, read by flickering light. Trial at dawn. Charges: harboring fugitive, theft of company time, interference with legal recovery. And below, in smaller print, separate hearing for Indian woman, deportation or indentured service. "What is indentured service?" Kiona asked. Oswin's grim voice. "Slavery by another name, girl. Over my dead body, I said. Might come to that, Oswin replied softly. Outside, snow began to fall again. The storm everyone had been predicting, finally arriving. In the darkness, I heard Kiona praying in Apache, low, rhythmic, the sound of a woman who'd lost everything before and survived, who might have to do it again. Billy's voice, small and broken. I'm sorry I wasn't braver sooner. You're brave now, I told him. That's what counts. The hammer blows continued outside, building our judgment one nail at a time. First light would come too soon. Dawn came gray and cold. February 8th. Exactly 3 days since I'd found her at the creek. They dragged us from the cells before first light. No food, no water. Kiona's bandages were soaked through with blood, her face pale as the snow outside. Billy looked like he hadn't slept at all, eyes red and hollow. The storm had passed in the night, leaving everything covered in fresh white. Beautiful, if you could ignore what it was covering. They marched us to the square. Not a courthouse. Randall wanted this public. Wanted everyone to see what happened when you crossed him. A platform had been built overnight, rough lumber still showing saw marks. Judge's bench at one end, really just a table with the territorial seal nailed to it. Judge Samuel Harwick sat there already, gray beard frosted with cold, wearing Randall Jensen's money like a second coat. His gavel was made from Jensen Ranch oak. Everyone knew it. The crowd was bigger than yesterday. Maybe 70 people, stamping their feet against cold, breath clouding. Some had come for justice. Most had come because attendance was mandatory. Town bell had rung, and in winter, you don't ignore that bell. Women in shawls, children with wide, frightened eyes, men in work clothes they'd thrown on in a hurry. Everyone wanted this over fast so they could get back to warm fires. We were shoved onto the platform. I heard Kiona's sharp intake of breath when her weight hit her bad foot. Judge Harwick banged his gavel. Silas Merrick, you stand accused of harboring a fugitive, theft of company resources, interference with legal authority. How do you plead? Not guilty. And she ain't a fugitive. She's got papers. Papers that only surfaced after your arrest. Convenient. His tone made it clear what he thought of that. Randall Jensen stood. He'd appointed himself prosecutor. Your Honor, I'll make this simple. Merrick took an Indian woman without authority, kept her against protocol, and when confronted, resisted legal process. The facts are clear. I tried to speak. Your Honor, I saw Clay Jensen and his gang rob her, strip her clothes in February cold, and leave her to die. I got a witness. Billy Hodge was there. The gavel cracked down. You'll speak when spoken to, Merrick. Randall smiled. Call your first witness, Your Honor. Clay Jensen took the stand, if you could call it that, really just a spot marked with chalk. He looked smug, rehearsed. That Indian woman was begging in town, making folks uncomfortable. We asked her to move along. She got belligerent, started cursing in her language. We may have confiscated some items for safety, but we didn't steal nothing. Mr. Merrick attacked us without provocation and took her by force. Lies. Every word lies. The crowd murmured, some nodding agreement. That's a lie. I couldn't stop myself. You threw her medicine bag in frozen water. You laughed about leaving her to die. One more outburst and you'll be gagged, Merrick. Elwood Tate went next, the mean one from Clay's gang. I seen Merrick take her. Didn't ask permission, didn't contact the marshal. Just took her. That's kidnapping in my book. Then the store owner. He came in demanding supplies for her. When I refused on account of she wasn't proper documented, he got threatening. Made me fear for my safety. I asked for lamp oil, I said, bitter. That's threatening? You're trying my patience, Merrick. They called Billy next. He walked up slow, hands shaking. Mr. Hodge, you were present at the initial incident. Yes, sir, I was there. Billy's voice came out thin. Clay and the others, they did steal from her. They took her food, her clothes, her pack. I seen it with my own eyes. And after they left, I went back and buried her things so she could find them later. That's how I got the evidence. A spark of hope. Billy was holding firm, but Judge Harwick leaned forward. Why would you bury stolen goods if you weren't involved in the theft yourself? Billy stammered. I, I was trying to help her. So you admit to handling stolen property? No, sir, I mean, they stole it, I just… Randall cut in smooth as oil. Your Honor, the boy's confused. He's been working Merrick's land summers, sweet on the place. His testimony's compromised by affection. It was a lie, but it landed. I saw the crowd's faces shift. Marshal Wade Calhoun, the judge called. Wade looked like he'd aged 10 years overnight. Walked up slow, wouldn't meet anyone's eyes. Marshal, you received a letter claiming kinship between yourself and the accused woman. Is this true? Long, terrible pause. I found a letter in the evidence. Yes, sir. But you never received it prior to the arrest? No, sir. And you've never publicly claimed Apache heritage? Wade's face was gray. His mouth opened, closed. Finally, no, sir. The crowd stirred, some confused, some beginning to understand. Then Kiona did something I'll never forget. She stood up, chains rattling, and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. He lie. The judge banged his gavel. The woman will be silent. He lie. Louder now, her broken English cutting through the cold air like a blade. I see him before. 10 years ago, his mother, my Aunt Sarah, she bring him to our camp. She try to teach him our ways. He ashamed. He tell her he white only. He deny her. You could have heard a pin drop in that square. She die 2 years later. She call your name when she dying. You never come. You not there when we bury her. Marshal Wade's face crumbled. Tears started down his cheeks, freezing in his beard. That's not… I couldn't… His voice broke. I was building a career. They wouldn't have respected me if they knew I had… He couldn't finish. Didn't need to. The crowd understood. The marshal had denied his own dying mother to keep his badge, his position, his place in white society. That's your betrayer, I said into the silence. Not me, not that girl. Him. He sold his soul for Jensen money and watched his own blood die alone. Someone in the crowd, one of the women, made a small sound of horror. Judge Harwick looked shaken, but Randall was already moving. Damage control. Your Honor, family disputes aside, the law is clear. Merrick harbored someone without authority. The woman had no visible means of support. These are facts. The judge gathered himself, that expensive gavel firm in his hand again. Silas Merrick, I find you guilty of harboring and interference with legal process. Sentence: seizure of all property to pay fines, 30 days incarceration and permanent banishment from this territory upon release. Gasps from the crowd. Even for Jensen's court, it was harsh. The woman, Kiona, will be remanded to indentured service with the Jensen Ranch for a period of no less than 6 years to settle debts incurred by her illegal presence and the damages caused. No! Kiona's scream cut through everything. She tried to run, but the shackles caught her, sent her sprawling on the platform. I lunged toward her. Guards grabbed me, held me back. Your Honor, please! Billy's voice cracked. That ain't justice. That's… Bailiff, remove the boy. They dragged Billy off the platform, his father's face hard as stone, refusing to look at his own son. Marshal Wade stood frozen, tears still streaming, his badge suddenly looking too heavy for his chest. Kiona was pulled to her feet. She looked at me across that platform and everything we'd built in 3 days, the trust, the hope, the fragile beginning of something that might have been love. It all hung there in her eyes. I'm sorry, I said, voice breaking. God, I'm so sorry. Randall Jensen stepped forward, placed a hand on Kiona's shoulder like she was property he'd just purchased. She flinched but couldn't pull away. 6 years of honest work will do her good, teach her proper civilized behavior. The crowd was silent. Some looked away. Others nodded slow agreement. The preacher stood with his head bowed, lips moving in prayer or shame. A little girl, same one from before, started crying. Her mother didn't stop her this time, just held her and looked at us with something like horror dawning on her face. They led Kiona away first, toward a wagon with Jensen's brand on the side. She didn't fight anymore, just walked, head up, wrapped in that blanket that was all she had left of warmth or home. As they loaded her in the wagon, she turned back one last time. Our eyes met. Then she was gone. They dragged me back toward the jail. Past the gallows that stood ready, rope already tied, noose swaying in the wind. "One more night, Merrick," Randall said as they shoved me in the cell. "Then we'll see about that banishment. Might be permanent, if you catch my meaning." The door slammed. Darkness. Cold. The sound of that rope whistling outside. Oswin's voice from the next cell. "Seen a lot of injustice in my days, son. That might be the worst." I sank to the floor, chains heavy, everything lost. Property. Freedom. Kiona. Outside, I heard the wagon wheels on snow, taking her away. 6 years. If she survived that long. If either of us did. Deep night. February 8th, sliding into the 9th. I'd lost track of hours, sitting in that frozen cell with nothing but darkness and the sound of my own breathing. Oswin had gone quiet in the next cell. Outside, occasional footsteps, guards changing shift, and always that rope creaking in the wind. I was praying, maybe, or talking to Marjorie. Hard to tell the difference anymore. "I tried," I whispered to the darkness. "I kept my word. I tried." Then, bootsteps, different from the guards, lighter, careful. A hooded lantern appeared at the bars. Low voice. "Mr. Merrick?" "Billy Hodge." I crawled to the bars. "Boy, you shouldn't be here. Your Pa disowned me. Don't matter what he thinks anymore." He held up papers, hands shaking. "I've been at the land office all night. The clerk, he's my uncle, Ma's brother. He let me search records." He pushed papers through the bars. "Your wife, Marjorie. Her homestead claim lists her grandmother's maiden name, Sarah Stands in Water, Shoshone. It's right here in the 1847 territorial census." I squinted at the faded ink in the dim light. There it was. Proof Marjorie had carried blood she maybe never knew about. "And look at this." Billy produced Kiona's travel papers. "Her mother's clan name, same band, their distant kin, Mr. Merrick, through the women's line." My hands were shaking now, too. "What's that mean?" "Under Homestead Act, if a claim's filed by a woman with tribal heritage and she dies childless, the land can pass through tribal kinship if proven. And if Kiona's blood kin to Marjorie, she's got legal claim to your homestead through marriage law." But Jensen already seized it. "Illegally. If Kiona's got tribal protection through the land claim, seizure's void. But we gotta prove it before—" He looked toward where the gallows stood. "Before they make it permanent." Another set of footsteps. Heavier. My hand went to where my knife should have been, but they'd taken everything. Marshal Wade stepped into the light. I tensed. "Come to make sure the rope's good and tight?" "No." His voice was raw, broken. "Come to do what I should have done from the start." He pulled out keys, unlocked the cell door. I didn't move. "Wade, what she said about my mother. All true." He was crying again, not trying to hide it now. "I denied her. Watched her die alone because I was ashamed of my own blood. But I ain't denying justice anymore." He pulled out more papers, old, yellowed with age. "This is my mother's will, left to me when she died. Never opened it, couldn't face it." His hands shook as he unfolded it. "She left me her medicine bag, the one that should have passed to her sister's daughter, to Kiona, when she died. I got no right to it. Never did." He looked at me with red, swollen eyes. "That bag Kiona carries, it's not just family memory. It's legal proof of matrilineal inheritance. Combined with these land records, she's got claim to your homestead through tribal law and federal protection." The pieces clicked together like a lock opening. "Jensen can't touch her," I breathed. "Can't touch either of you. If we can prove it public, before witnesses." Billy grabbed the lantern. "The preacher, he's been up all night too. Some of the women went to him after the trial. They're gathering right now." "Gathering where?" "Town Square. They're ringing the bell." Even from the jail, I heard it. Church bell, the pattern that meant emergency assembly. 3 rings, pause, 3 rings. Wade helped me up. My legs were stiff from cold and sitting, but rage and hope got me moving. "What about the guards?" "Told them I was moving you for execution. They didn't ask questions." Wade's voice went hard. Been taking orders too long. Time I gave some. We stepped out of that cell into the pre-dawn cold. Snow had stopped, sky clearing, stars still visible but fading. The square was filling with people. Not 70 this time, maybe 100. Torches lit against the darkness. And on the platform, the preacher stood with 3 women beside him. I recognized them. The store owner's wife. The mother of the little girl who'd cried. Another woman I didn't know. And being led up to the platform, Kiona, still in chains but alive. The women had gotten her from Jensen's ranch somehow. When she saw me, her face transformed. Hope, fear, disbelief all at once. Randall Jensen pushed through the crowd, furious. "What the hell is this? Wade, you—" "This is the law, Randall. Real law, federal and tribal, not your bought and paid for version." The preacher raised his hands, and the crowd quieted. At midnight, members of this congregation came to me, showed me documents, told me truths that should have been heard at trial. His voice carried strong in the cold air. "Now we speak before God and witnesses, the way justice is meant to be done." He held up Billy's land records. Silas Merrick's homestead was filed by his wife, Marjorie Merrick, born Marjorie Stands in Water, who carried Shoshone blood through her grandmother. Under territorial and federal law, this land carries tribal protection. He held up Wade's mother's will. This woman, Kiona, is blood kin to Marshal Wade Calhoun through his mother, Sarah Brokenwing. She's also distant kin to Marjorie Merrick through the same ancestral clan. The crowd murmured louder now, understanding spreading like dawn. Which means under tribal marriage law and Federal Homestead Act, Kiona has legal claim to the Merrick land. And under protection laws for tribal members on protected homesteads, she cannot be seized, indentured, removed, or harmed without federal authorization. Silence fell like snow. Randall's face went from red to purple to white. "This is nonsense. The judge ruled yesterday." "Judge ruled on false premises," the preacher said. "This evidence wasn't presented because the marshal withheld it." Wade stepped forward, voice shaking but steady. "I'm the one who failed. I denied my mother, denied my blood, and nearly let an innocent woman be enslaved because I was ashamed." He unpinned his badge, held it up for all to see. "I ain't fit to wear this. But before I go, I'm doing one thing right." He walked to Kiona, knelt in the snow at her feet, and unlocked her shackles. They fell away with a clank that echoed across the silent square. "Cousin," he said, voice breaking, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for what I done. For what I didn't do." Kiona looked down at him for a long moment. Then slowly, deliberately, she placed her hand on his head. "You hear now. You speak truth now. That enough." The crowd watched a white marshal weep at an Apache woman's feet, watched her give forgiveness he didn't deserve, and something shifted in that square. You could feel it like weather changing. Randall tried one more time. Judge Harwick will. Judge Harwick took your money to rule against facts," the preacher said. "That's not law, that's corruption." He turned to the crowd. "Who here stands with truth?" One hand raised, the mother of the crying girl, then another, the store owner's wife, then 12 more, then 20, then half the square, hands up, bearing witness. Randall stood alone, his power crumbling like spring ice. Clay appeared at the edge of the crowd, saw his father isolated, and for the first time looked uncertain. "Pa?" His voice was small. Randall didn't answer, just turned and walked away through the parting crowd, back straight, face hard as stone. Pride was all he had left. The preacher looked at me and Kiona. "You're free, both of you. The law protects you now." Kiona walked to me across that platform. No chains, no guards, just her own feet carrying her forward. We stood facing each other as the sun broke over the horizon, turning the snow gold. "You free now," she said. "You go anywhere." "Not without you." Her eyes filled with tears. "Why you do this? Lose everything for me?" "Because somewhere in that frozen creek 3 days ago, I stopped being a ghost and started being alive again. And I ain't going back to being dead." I extended my hand. "We walk out of here together. eyes open. She took it. The crowd parted as we stepped down from that platform, hand in hand, Wade and Billy and the preacher following behind us. Then, a sound that stopped everything. The crack of a rifle shot. The bullet hit the post beside my head, splinters exploding into the cold air. The crowd screamed, scattered. Kiona and I dropped to the platform, my body covering hers by instinct. Clay Jensen stood 30 feet away, rifle shaking in his hands, face wild with drink and desperation. He was crying, stumbling, barely able to stand. "You ruined me!" His voice cracked high and raw. "Pa won't even look at me." "You took everything!" I stood slowly, hands visible, no weapons. "Boy, put the gun down." "No!" He levered another round, the sound loud as thunder. "You don't get to walk away. You don't get her. You don't get nothing." The rifle swung toward Kiona. I stepped in front of her without thinking, arms spread wide. "Then shoot me, but you'll have to kill me first, and you'll do it in front of 50 witnesses, in front of God, in front of everyone you know." Clay's hands shook so bad the rifle barrel wove figure eights in the air. "You made me small." "No, son." I kept my voice gentle as I could. "You did that yourself. I just didn't let you make someone else smaller to feel big." His face crumpled, the rifle drooping. "Justice don't need blood, Clay, just witnesses, and everyone here seen the truth now." Billy Hodge stepped forward from the crowd, hands up, moving slow. "Clay," his voice was soft. "We've been friends since we were 8 years old. Remember when your pa whipped you for stealing that horse? I lied for you. Took half your beating." Clay's gun swung toward Billy, but there was no aim in it, just reflex and fear. "Billy, I'm still your friend, but I ain't lying no more. Not for you, not for nobody." Billy extended his hand. "Give me the rifle. This ain't you." "You don't know what it's like," Clay sobbed. "He's my father, and he looks at me like I'm nothing." "I know exactly what it's like," Billy said quietly. "My pa disowned me yesterday, in front of the whole town. Said I wasn't his son no more." Silence. Clay staring at him. "But you know what? I'd rather be nothing in his eyes than something built on lies." Billy took another step closer. "Give me the gun, Clay. You're tired, I can see it." The rifle wavered. Clay's finger was still on the trigger, tears streaming down his face. "I'm so tired, Billy." Then everything happened at once. Clay swung the rifle, but not at us, at himself. Pressed the barrel under his own chin. The crowd gasped. Women screamed. I moved on instinct, scout reflexes from 20 years ago, launched myself off that platform, and tackled him before his finger could pull the trigger. We hit the ground hard, snow exploding around us, Clay fighting me, sobbing, trying to get the gun back. "Let me go! Let me!" The rifle went off, the shot punching into the sky. I pinned him, got the gun away, tossed it to Billy, held Clay down but gentle, the way you hold someone who's breaking rather than someone you're breaking. "Listen to me." My voice was hard but not cruel. "You done wrong, bad wrong, but you're still breathing. That means you still got time to do right." Clay went limp under me, sobbing into the snow like a child. "I got nothing left." "You got your life. Don't throw that away." I thought of all the boys I'd seen die in the snow during the war, boys younger than him. I seen too many men die frozen and alone. "I ain't watching another if I can help it." Marshal Wade pushed through the crowd, picked up the rifle. His face was sad, not triumphant. "Clay Jensen, you're under arrest for attempted murder." But his voice was gentle saying it. Billy helped Clay to his feet. The boy could barely stand, shaking with exhaustion and fear and shame. He looked at Kiona. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for what I done to you." Kiona said nothing for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded once. Not forgiveness, not yet, but acknowledgement, witness to his remorse. The preacher stepped forward, addressing the crowd that had gathered close again. "We all saw what happened here. 3 days of lies nearly killed 3 people. Cowardice nearly enslaved an innocent woman. Greed burned a man's home. And we—" His voice rose, powerful. "We watched. We stayed silent." Shame rippled through the crowd. But truth came out anyway. Because some folks had courage when it mattered. He gestured to Billy, to Wade, to the women who'd rung the bell. That's why we gather. To witness. To hold each other accountable to what's right. The store owner pushed through the crowd, hat in his hands. Silas, I should have sold you that lamp oil. Should have spoken up when they arrested you. His voice shook. I'm ashamed of myself. Then be better, I said simply. One by one, people came forward, apologizing, confessing their silence, offering to help rebuild. The little girl's mother, we watched them take her in chains and did nothing. An old rancher. I knew it was wrong, but I was afraid of Jensen's money. The blacksmith. I'll help rebuild your barn. No charge. Kiona stood beside me through all of it, her hand finding mine. When the confessions finally ended, I spoke to all of them. I don't want apologies. I want better. From all of us. I turned to Wade, who stood holding Clay's rifle like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Wade, pick up your badge. He looked at me, shocked. I don't deserve, none of us deserve mercy. But we give it anyway. Or what are we? I held his eyes. You made a mistake, a bad one. But you stood up when it mattered. Now keep standing. Wade bent, picked up the badge from where it had fallen in the snow, pinned it back on with shaking hands. I'll do better. I swear it. Randall Jensen had returned, standing at the back of the crowd. I looked at him across all those people. You still got your ranch, your money, your power, but you lost your son's respect. And that's a wound money can't heal. Randall's face was stone. He said nothing, just turned and walked away again, alone this time, no one following. Kiona pulled the medicine bag from inside her dress, opened it. Inside, dried herbs, small stones, and something I hadn't seen before, a folded piece of cloth. She unfolded it carefully, a handkerchief embroidered with geometric patterns, Shoshone work. Your wife, she know, Kiona said softly. She put this in bag before she die. She leave it for family to find someday. She know we are sisters. My throat closed up. Marjorie had known, had left a message across death, across years, telling me someone would come who needed what I could give. She's still taking care of me, I whispered. The sun was full up now, the square bathed in gold light. The gallows stood empty, rope cut down by someone in the crowd. That whistling sound was gone. Billy came over, Clay supported between him and Wade. What happens to him? Billy asked. 2 years for attempted murder, Wade said. But I'll testify about the circumstances, about the shame and the pressure. Maybe the judge goes easier. Clay looked at me. I don't deserve easy. No. But you deserve a chance to be better than you were. I met his eyes. Use the time. Figure out who you want to be when you get out. They led him away, Billy walking beside him like the friend he'd always tried to be. The crowd began to disperse, heading home to warm fires and hot food. But many stopped to shake my hand, to touch Kiona's shoulder, to say they'd be out to help rebuild come spring. When it was just us, me, Kiona, Wade, and the preacher, we stood in that empty square as the sun climbed higher. What now? Wade asked. Now we go home, I said. What's left of it? Kiona's hand tightened in mine. We build new home, together. The ride back to the cabin took 2 hours. The land looked different in daylight, cleaner somehow, like the storm had washed something away. The barn was gone, burned to foundation stones. The shed stood, cattle moving inside. The cabin intact but cold, fire long dead. We stood looking at the damage. It's not much, I said. It's enough, Kiona replied. We make it more. Over the next weeks, people came, built a new barn, bigger than before, brought hay, supplies, food. The blacksmith made new tools. The women brought fabric for curtains, dishes to replace what was broken. Billy came every day after his chores, working until dark. Even Wade stopped by, bringing supplies and news. Clay was serving his time quiet, reading books Wade brought him. Learning, maybe, growing. Spring came slow but certain. The creek thawed. Ice broke into chunks that floated away. Green things pushed through the snow. One morning, Kiona and I sat on the porch in 2 chairs Billy had made us. Simple rockers, solid and true. Marjorie's blanket lay across both our laps. Kiona had mended it, woven Apache patterns into the edges where it was worn. Coffee steamed in the chipped cup I'd never fixed, the one Marjorie drank from. Kiona's hand rested on mine. On her finger, Marjorie's wedding ring, the one I'd given her the day the preacher married us by the creek. "That toe I lost in the snow?" she said quietly. "Hmm? Small price. For finding home." I squeezed her hand. For finding each other. We sat there as the sun rose over the same creek where I'd found her, watching the water run free and clear. Behind us, the cabin. Ahead, the land. Between us, the blanket that connected past and present and future. Home. Now I'm 77 years old, telling you this story from that same porch. Kiona's still beside me, gray in her hair now, but fire in her eyes just like that first day. That was 40-some years back, the winter of '83. Feels like yesterday, feels like forever. Folks ask me sometimes, was it worth it, losing the barn, nearly losing my life, all that suffering for a woman I just met? And I tell them, I wasn't saving a stranger, I was saving myself. See, I'd been frozen inside since Marjorie died. Walking, breathing, but not living. That girl standing in the creek. She wasn't just cold on the outside, I was cold on the inside. And somehow, keeping her warm thawed something in me I thought was dead forever. Maybe dignity ain't about never falling down. It's about what you do when you're on your knees in the snow. Do you stay down, or do you stand back up, help somebody else stand, and keep walking? Blood makes you related, but loyalty makes you family. Clay Jensen shared blood with his father, but young Billy Hodge became like a son to us. We chose each other. That's stronger than any birth certificate. Justice ain't always loud. It's quiet in the way a man keeps his eyes clean when he looks in the mirror, in the way a community admits they were wrong, in the way mercy becomes stronger than revenge. That rope I told you about at the start, the one that whistled in the wind, we cut it down the day after everything settled. Billy wanted to burn it, but Kiona said no. "Nah, rope is just rope," she said. "We make it mean something different. So now it draws water from our well. Every day, life from death." We got married that spring, right by the creek where I found her. Marshall Wade officiated, his first act of real courage. Whole town came. Even Randall Jensen stood at the back. Didn't apologize, but he came. Sometimes that's the first step. Clay served his 2 years. When he got out, first place he came was our porch. Couldn't meet my eyes. "I don't deserve forgiveness," he said. Kiona answered him. "You right. You don't deserve. But we give anyway. That how healing starts." He works his father's ranch now, treats his people fair, got himself a good wife, had 3 daughters. Named the first one Sarah, after Wade's mother, after the aunt who tried to teach him kindness when he was too young and proud to listen. Some men find their way early, some find it late. But finding it's what matters. Wade wore that badge 20 more years. Anta died respected, not because he never failed, but because he admitted when he did. Before he passed, he taught Kiona the old songs his mother sang, said it was time to stop being ashamed of where he came from. We buried him with his mother's medicine bag, the one he should have carried all along. Billy, he's got the place next to ours now, married a girl from town, got 4 boys, comes over for coffee most mornings, sits in that third chair he made himself. We don't talk much, don't need to. We survived something together. That creates a language all its own. I'm telling you this story because I seen something in that winter. We're all just one hard season away from showing who we really are. Some folks revealed cowardice. Some revealed cruelty. But some, like Billy, like those women who spoke up, like Wade when he finally found his spine, they revealed courage they didn't know they had. Maybe you're listening to this in the dark. Maybe you're alone. Maybe you're carrying shame about times you stayed silent when you should have spoke. Here's what I learned. It's never too late to do right. Never too late to stand up. Never too late to thaw. That girl in the creek, she didn't just survive February. She taught me that winter ends, always does, long as you keep the fire going. Every morning, Kiona and I sit on this porch, 2 rocking chairs Billy made us, coffee in the mended cup, blanket over our laps, and we watch the sun come up over the same creek where we met. Been doing it 40 years. Plan to do it 40 more if the good Lord allows. That toe she lost, smallest thing she gave up to find home. Me? I'd been frozen 3 years till she taught me winter ends. So, wherever you are tonight, whether you're in Texas or Tennessee, Montana or Missouri, wherever this old voice reaches, I hope you remember. Dignity can't be stolen, only given away. Family is built, not just born. And sometimes the coldest winters grow the warmest homes. If this story touched you, if it stirred something in your chest or brought water to your eyes, I'd be glad to know it. Tell me where you're listening from down in the comments. I like knowing this old tale found good people. Till next time, friends, may you have the courage to do right when it's hard. May you have people worth standing for. And may you never be so cold inside that you can't thaw. Keep the fire going. That's all any of us can do. Wind chimes ring softly, made from old bridal pieces from that February night. Music of the past, singing into the present. Two silhouettes in rocking chairs, spring dawn breaking, creek running free. Home.